Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. A new chapter starts at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as Thomas Frank takes charge of Spurs for the very first time. After the emotional Europa League triumph under Ange Postecoglou, the club made the ruthless call to move on, and Frank was the unanimous choice of the board. From dealing with Son Heung-min's exit stance to embracing the scale of Spurs' global fan base, Frank's journey has already been dramatic. So, what can Tottenham fans expect from their new head coach as the Premier League season kicks off? Thomas Frank will step into the dugout at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Saturday afternoon for the first time as Spurs head coach. It will mark the beginning of Tottenham's Premier League season, yet the start of Frank's adventure at the North London club came before he even knew he had the job. The Spurs hierarchy seemed set on relieving Ange Postecoglou of his duties at the end of last season, due to poor showings in the league, only for a groundswell of support to grow behind the Australian after he ended the 17-year wait for a trophy with the Europa League triumph. The club waited for the emotions of that night in Bilbao and the subsequent parade through N17 in front of an estimated 220,000 supporters to die down before making their final decision based on all factors, and eventually they stuck to their original thinking. Postecoglou was sacked. His compatriot and the club's chief football officer Scott Munn was placed on gardening leave, and Tottenham's hierarchy, including chairman Daniel Levy, new CEO Vinay Venkatesham, and technical director Johan Lange pushed on with the process of appointing a new head coach. Postecoglou was sacked. His compatriot and the club's chief football officer Scott Munn was placed on gardening leave, and Tottenham's hierarchy, including chairman Daniel Levy, new CEO Vinay Venkatesham, and technical director Johan Lange pushed on with the process of appointing a new head coach. Spurs used data modelling to identify 50 coaches that would suit what they were looking for, including a number of hypothetical candidates that they knew would not be available, in order to ensure a full and worthwhile detailed comparison matrix. To ensure the best possible chance of avoiding mistakes of the past, they drew up a list of 10 criteria for prospective candidates, including a track record of playing attractive football, developing young players, and good communication skills with the media as just 3 of them. When all of the criteria were taken into account, it resulted in a shortlist of 4 candidates for the position. All of the prospective quartet held meetings with the club, and 51-year-old Frank, who was initially contacted just days after the final game of Spurs season, was the unanimous choice of the board and Lang. Talks then took place between the Dane and Brentford, all while Frank was embarking on his summer plans, which included a road trip to Denmark with his wife Nana, time in Spain with his mother and sister, and then after the announcement of his Spurs appointment, a huge party back in his homeland with 50 of his closest friends, which had been pre-planned before any of the Tottenham developments occurred. One key thing for Spurs was that they needed to know Frank understood the scale of the job he was about to walk into. The scrutiny of life at the North London outfit was far removed from anything he would have experienced at Brentford. Take something as simple as his morning exercise. Frank would often go out for early runs in his local area while boss of the Bees. That will no longer be a thing he can do, as his profile grows, and a run around Victoria Harbour in the heat of Hong Kong during Spurs' summer tour in July might be one of the last times the sweat-covered Dane was able to do that in public. Frank now runs around the club's Hotspur Way training ground, inside its walls, and uses the gym there each morning with some of the staff, pushing each other in that competitive way sports people do. Lang and Frank ensured his coaching staff would make up for his lack of experience in European competition, with only a handful of Europa League qualifying matches to his name around 10 years ago. It was on the tour to Asia that Frank realised the scale of the club and its global fan base of millions. He immediately had to deal with the Son Heung-min situation. The Dane had called a number of Tottenham's senior players in the days after being given the job, and the South Korean star was the only one who made it clear that he wanted to leave the club. Frank's way of dealing with the departure of the Premier League icon and Spurs captain has been to his credit this summer, drawing praise from inside and outside the club, as well as from Son himself. The new head coach's communication style since arriving at the club has been the subject of some discussion within its walls. He brings with him an openness and positive approach, something shared by his coaching staff. After the tough times last season inside a beaten-down squad that felt put upon by circumstances at every turn, with injuries and the obstacles Christian Romero spoke of in his goodbye to Postecoglou, a positive approach has been no bad thing after the grind of the previous campaign. One of the consistent things you'll hear about Frank is he's just a good human being. That's not to say the new man is all sunshine and smiles. He can fix you with a stern glare in an instant, and Yves Bissouma has already found that the Danes' non-negotiables, including timekeeping, cannot be well negotiated. The Mali international's frequent tardiness cost him his place in the Super Cup squad, his third summer in a row of disappointing a head coach before the season began. It will likely end up being Bissouma's last summer at the club. Those who might think that after Postecoglou's well-known style of speaking, only in key moments to individuals, the conversational Frank would be a chatterbox in comparison to all of his players should think again. Some inside the Spurs squad have spoken to the Dane individually in longer moments, including a number of those senior players. But some players are believed to have mostly dealt with his coaching staff since his arrival, only getting brief moments of conversation with Frank in his first 5 weeks in charge. That's not entirely unusual among Premier League managers, especially with such a large squad to deal with. But there are certainly some players who are unsure exactly what Frank thinks of them at this point. Perhaps that is part of the plan, to keep certain players on their toes. All of the players have enjoyed the new training sessions so far, which are packed with detail, with plenty of focus on defending, although those 1 kilometre runs in the heat have certainly left their impact. Justin Cochrane and Matt Wells, close friends and highly rated coaches who know Spurs inside out, have been drawing up plenty of interesting sessions with Frank to help build the structure required in the team. Andreas Georgsson's set-piece and restart work has already paid quick dividends, and those situations are among the low-hanging fruit Ben Davies spoke of this summer that can improve Spurs. The blocking drills for all players have also brought immediate results in the games in Frank's first 5 weeks, with players trained to react quickly, to put their bodies on the line, to stop shots in front of goal. On the subject of bodies, injuries have not been exclusive to the Postecoglou era. Frank has lost Dominic Solanke, Destiny Udogie, Mana Solomon, new arrival Kota Takai, and of course James Maddison this summer, the latter for much of the coming season. He already had Dejan Kulusevski, Radu Dragusin and Brian Gill on the long-term injury list when he joined. There is a belief within Tottenham that the load on the players was not managed correctly during last summer's pre-season, especially with players coming back from their Copa America and Euros exploits, and that was a major problem that seeped into the season with the extreme style of play under Postecoglou. On the medical side, Football.London reported last month that Tottenham's Director of Performance Services, Adam Brett, and Head of Sports Science Nick Davies had both left the club after only a year. Davies tipped with moving to Everton. Spurs are in the process of looking for 2 new heads of department for that big picture stuff, with the day-to-day running of the medical side believed to not be impacted. Another key aspect of Frank's first summer has been the transfers, both in those made and those missed. There is an acceptance within Spurs that the uncertainty around Postecoglou's future impacted transfer activity out of the gate. Then in Frank's early weeks behind the scenes, comparisons were drawn to Arne Slot's first few months at Liverpool in working out his new squad's strengths and weaknesses before committing to bringing new faces in. Mathys Tell's loan was made permanent before Takai was signed as a prospect from Japan. Then Spurs made their first big move with the £55 million signing of Mohamed Kudus from West Ham. It was meant to be a £115 million double signing across 48 hours, with Tottenham thinking they were about to sign Morgan Gibbs-White from Nottingham Forest. Frank had wanted the midfielder for years at Brentford, and Spurs had also tracked him for some time. Frank felt that his mobility and creativity as a number 10 would be perfect for his new-look Tottenham side, and it was a deal Spurs felt they could make happen. The North London club made a £60 million bid for the England midfielder that appeared to have triggered a release clause in his contract. with it having been made clear to them that the 25-year-old was keen to join and play Champions League football. After the crushing UEFA Super Cup penalty shootout loss to PSG, Tottenham Hotspur are wasting no time in the transfer market. Thomas Frank's side are pushing to land either Crystal Palace star Eberechi Eze or Manchester City winger Savinho, both of whom could cost club record fees. With Son Heung-min gone and Dejan Kulusevski sidelined for the year, Spurs are desperate for attacking reinforcements before the Premier League kicks off against Burnley this weekend. Could a huge signing turn Super Cup pain into title-chasing momentum? Tottenham Hotspur will hope to get over their UEFA Super Cup heartbreak by bolstering their squad with quality ahead of the new Premier League season. Spurs failed to capture a second European honour on Wednesday after losing on penalties to Paris Saint-Germain. Despite being 2-0 up with minutes to go, they conceded 2 late strikes with the Champions League winners ending up victorious from the spot. As is the usual with football, there is no time to waste, and with the North London side beginning their league season on Saturday, at home to Burnley, there is more work to be done to improve Thomas Frank's side. While there have been 7 new arrivals this summer, Mohamed Kudus is the only signing that was both clinched this summer and also expected to play a significant role in Spurs' season. The club's interest in Eberechi Eze and Savinho has been discussed at length as they look to make last season's Europa League triumph the beginning of a winning mentality in N17. Here, Football London takes a closer look at some of the moves Spurs could clinch with just weeks left of the transfer window. Spurs have been locked in negotiations with Manchester City over Savinho, who endured a disappointing debut campaign for the Citizens last season. The Brazilian scored just 1 league goal, but did end the season, following the Club World Cup, with 16 goal contributions in 48 games, with 13 of those being assists. The departure of Son Heung-min and Dejan Kulusevski's injury, which could keep him out of action for the rest of the calendar year, has left Frank's squad a tad short in the wide areas. Discussion surrounding a £43 million package for the 21-year-old was reported, but according to the latest claims, it'll take a club record fee for Spurs to prize the Brazilian away from Pep Guardiola's side. According to journalist Jorge Nicola, Spurs held talks with Savinho's agent, who told the club that a £67 million bid would be enough to convince Man City to part ways with him. Spurs' interest in Eze this summer has been well documented, as the latest update on the transfer saga claims the club are set to make an official bid for the Crystal Palace talisman. Fresh off winning the Community Shield after the Eagles' victory over Liverpool on Sunday, the England midfielder could be set for a move across London if a deal between the 2 Premier League sides can be agreed. While Eze has been subject to interest from Arsenal, it's Spurs that have seemingly moved ahead of their rivals in the race for the 27-year-old's signature. Should Spurs succeed in their acquisition of the talented star, they'll reportedly have to fork out what would be a club record £68 million fee, which is the figure said to be Eze's release clause. Football London understands the clause expires before the start of the Premier League season. The ex-QPR man is said to be attracted to the opportunity to play in the Champions League and remain in London, but reports suggest Spurs value him around the £55 million mark, the fee they paid West Ham for Kudus in Oi. Manor Solomon may have signed for Spurs in 2023, but the Israeli has made just 6 appearances for the club. A meniscus injury just 3 months into his career in North London ended his 2023-24 campaign. The following campaign saw the winger sent on loan to Leeds United as he resurrected his career by playing a major role in the Whites' promotion to the Premier League. While he scored 10 goals and providing 12 assists for Daniel Farke's side, his return to Spurs this summer has been less triumphant as he missed the club's tour of Asia due to injury. With the likes of Kudus, Wilson Odobert, Richarlison, Mathys Tell and Brennan Johnson all ahead of Solomon in the rotation, Frank could look into cashing in on the 26-year-old. Spurs are said to be looking for £15 to £20 million for his services, with a return to Leeds being mooted given Farke's displeasure with his lack of attacking options. The German was damning in the club's faltering attempts to improve their forward line, as he recently said, "In comparison to our Championship side, we have not improved in the offence, We are not prepared yet for a long Premier League season. We are capable of playing at a good level, but in order to be ready and to win games at this level, you need players who can score goals and give assists.